You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode 155. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to share with you an approach to coaching that I've come up with that goes beyond the conventional idea of what coaching is and allows you to explore an area that can uncover incredible results for your client. I'm really excited to share this with you. Now, have you ever encountered a nagging inner voice in your head? Perhaps this relentless critic that whispers little doubts and insecurities into your ears. Well, what if I told you that instead of silencing that voice, you could harness its power? What if I told you that by embracing negative thoughts, you could uncover a path to transformation? This is what I call dark coaching. And in this episode, I'm going to share an overview and some examples of what dark coaching is and how you can start to apply this to yourself and your clients. Now, I got the idea of calling this dark coaching from my passion for Harry Potter and the Harry Potter universe. In Harry Potter, you may know that the students are taught a variety of spells, and then there are also dark spells or the dark arts. And the students are taught that you have to be very careful in how you use dark magic, but when you use it, it could actually be the most powerful spells that you use. So I see dark coaching in the same way. You can use it to create incredible breakthroughs for your client. However, if used improperly, it could also cause harm. So that's why, like with any strategies I share in this podcast, it's so important to not just know the idea of it, but the application of it. And that's what we will teach you in the academy. So this episode is to just introduce you to the concepts. You must have a strong rapport with your clients and be very skilled in how to apply these tools. Otherwise, they might backfire. So dark coaching is when you take your clients' negative and painful moments to help them move forward. It's approaching and utilizing the energy of a negative or painful moment to help them move forward. Now, one of the biggest myths that people have around coaching is that it's supposed to be positive. Coaching is just about being happy, happy, joy, joy. Remember that song? It's about being the cheerleader. It's about being the high fiver. This is actually a myth. Coaching is not solely about keeping people positive, and it's not solely about thinking happy thoughts. Coaching is actually a multifaceted practice that recognizes the complexity of human experiences. So if you think that coaching is all about rah, rah, let's just think happy things and say positive affirmations, you are missing out on an entire dimension of coaching that can allow you to transform your clients' lives. True transformational coaching is about embracing the full range of emotions, both the positive and the negative. So it's essential to honor and explore the entire range of emotions we have so we gain self-awareness and understand underlying beliefs and patterns and create meaningful change. Now, there are various ways that you can incorporate dark coaching into your practice. I'm going to share some with you in this episode. One of the approaches I call negative visualization. Now, typically, when you use a standard visualization approach with your client, you guide them through visualizing a desired scenario that they'd want to have. For example, if someone wants to win at some kind of sports event, you might have the client visualize them successfully participating in the sport and being on the award podium and receiving the award, the praise, and hearing the applause. Like that would be a traditional positive visualization. However, when you try dark coaching, you actually invite your client to visualize the worst case scenario. And you might wonder, why on earth would you want someone to think about the worst case scenario or their biggest fear? Well, one of the reasons, as you'll understand as I go through this and share with you an example, is that often when we shine a light on our biggest fears, we take away their power. I call this the Wizard of Oz effect. If you remember in the movie The Wizard of Oz, the entire movie, the set of characters are fearful of the great and powerful Oz. And this is this figure that they are so concerned about. And at the end of the film, when they go and visit the great and powerful Oz, they realize it's just a little guy behind the curtain pushing some buttons. And they have this moment of what? This is what we've been fearful of all the time? So when we shine a light on our fears and really look at them, it helps them to dissolve. So negative visualization is when you invite your client to imagine the worst case scenario. Okay, so for example, let's imagine a client is feeling stuck in a job and they are very hesitant to pursue their passions and start their own business. So they have a lot of fear and self-doubt because they're worried about failing and the risks involved with starting their own business. So they have this desire to change, but they are finding it very difficult to take that leap and explore new opportunities. So in this scenario, a negative visualization can be a very powerful tool. As the coach, you can guide your client through visualizing the worst case scenario if they were to take the leap and start their own business. So you might say, I want you to imagine what would the worst case scenario be if you did leave behind your job and start a business. And they might share something like, well, I start my business and I don't make any money. And you can invite them to go even farther than that and say, and then what would happen? And then what unintended results would you get? And then what consequences would occur? And they might continue on and they could share how, and then they wouldn't be able to afford their rent or their mortgage, or they wouldn't be able to provide for their family. And now this, as it implies in the name, dark coaching, it is uncomfortable. It is actually focusing on a negative thought or experience. A lot of conventional coaching approaches will tell you to not go here because it's an uncomfortable place. But I say that type of coaching, where it's just focused on the positive, is not really deep coaching. That's more of coddling. And I don't believe it's our job to coddle our clients and just focus on the positive, when that's just not how life works. It's important to embrace the full range of emotion and the full range of possibility. So through doing negative visualization, your client will create a picture of the worst case scenario. Now, when they articulate that, then you can follow up with this magical question that will help to shatter this fear once and for all. You can ask your client, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being totally likely and 1 being not at all likely, how likely is it really that this will actually occur? And this is where your client will start to share a very low number. They'll say, well, it's very unlikely, maybe a 2 or a 3 or a 1. And by doing this, it has that Wizard of Oz effect. Now that they've been able to articulate their worst case fear that previously was just lingering in their mind, it was the Wizard of Oz. They hadn't yet gone behind the curtain. They didn't know what was there. But now they're looking at it and they're recognizing, oh, okay, that's what was there all along. This is what I was so afraid of. And there's really no reason for me to have any of these fears because it's so unlikely to happen. I'll give you another example. Let's imagine that someone has a fear of public speaking and they were invited to give a presentation at a social gathering, but they're filled with doubt and anxiety. So you might invite your client to do a negative visualization where they imagine the worst case scenario for their upcoming presentation. Perhaps they vividly picture themselves on stage experiencing all the mishaps that they fear. They stumble over their words. They go completely blank. They receive negative feedback from the audience. By fully immersing themselves in this visualization and confronting their biggest fears, they can also take a step back and evaluate the likelihood of these worst case scenarios actually occurring. And this is when they'll realize that the chances of everything going wrong are highly improbable. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that this will really happen? So this exercise, negative visualization, allows clients to gain perspective and challenge all of these irrational fears that they have. They wouldn't be able to get to this awareness, though, if they didn't go into the dark side. So by doing this, it reduces their anxiety. And that's really the point of dark coaching. It's not to make a client experience pain and then just live with that pain. It invites them to lean into those uncomfortable ideas, thoughts, or feelings, because ultimately it's going to help them move forward and feel better. Okay, so your clients will experience reduced anxiety. And in this case of the person afraid of speaking, they can remind themselves that even if some minor mistakes or hiccups happen in their presentation, it's not going to equate to the catastrophic outcome that they were originally fearing. Now, I want you to think about an opportunity that you have right now. Maybe one that you've been afraid to take the leap and pursue it. Maybe it is about pursuing a career or a certain business opportunity or moving to a new city or a new country. I want to apply some dark coaching, if you're willing to allow me, on you right now. Take a moment and imagine, what is the worst case scenario? What is the worst case scenario that could happen? Things don't work out at all. What would that look like? How would that feel? And what unintended outcomes would that lead to? What consequences would all of that have in your life? Now you're starting to picture this worst case scenario. Now think about, how likely is it that if you did take the leap and pursue this opportunity, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is it's totally likely it's going to happen, and 1 is it's not at all likely that this worst case scenario will happen, where would you give the score? What would you give? Now think about why you're not giving a higher score, right? Like, why don't you think it's more likely to happen? This is an amazing way for you to start dissolving that initial fear by recognizing how unlikely and how improbable it really is. Knowing the type of person that you are, knowing how your life has been up until this point, how far you've already made it in your life, you realize how unlikely it is to even happen. Now think about, with that awareness, what does that inspire you to do? So this is one form of dark coaching, negative visualization. I'll give you another one. Another form of dark coaching is I call it stagnation breakthrough. So this is if someone is trying to break a bad habit, or they want to start a new healthy habit, or again, if they're looking to consider some kind of new opportunity, which is previous to the original strategy I shared before. Now, what you want to do is you'll ask these dark coaching questions I'm going to give you. And again, you want to allow your client to sit with their pain. The more uncomfortable you are as a coach with your client's discomfort, the trickier dark coaching is going to be to apply, because you will feel like you need to rescue them. Again, this is what I consider coddling. When you think you have to rescue a victim, it is not true coaching. So the question you would ask yourself, right, if you're thinking about a habit that you want to change or a new opportunity that you'd want to pursue, but you haven't yet changed that habit yet. You haven't stopped the bad habit. So for example, it might be that you want to stop staying up so late, or you want to stop eating a lot of junk food, or you want to quit a job that you're not invested in, you're not passionate about, or you want to you're considering leaving a relationship that is draining and exhausting you. But you haven't made the change yet. You're still tolerating it. This is a great approach to use if you're tolerating something that you know is not what you ultimately want. So the dark coaching questions I want you to consider is, if nothing changed, absolutely nothing changed, and you didn't take any action, then what would happen? Then what would your life be like if absolutely nothing changed? Now, this is uncomfortable to consider, right? It's not a place that you probably want to go, but it's important because it helps you get out of this stagnation. That's why I call it stagnation breakthrough. Or I like thinking of it as like toleration breakthrough as well. Oftentimes we just rationalize or justify things that are fine or good enough. I say that fine is the 4-letter F word that we listen for as coaches. When a lot of people say things are fine, things are not really fine. It's just a cover up, right? So think about, if nothing were to change, what would that be like in a year from now? Absolutely no change. It's an uncomfortable question, but one that is so powerful to consider. So powerful. If nothing changed, if you continue on the path you're on, what would it look like a year from now? Another question that you might want to consider is, how would you describe your satisfaction with your life if things just stayed as they are? Or what goals or aspirations would you have set aside if you chose to take no action in the coming year? What are the goals or aspirations that you would have set aside if you choose to take no actions and keep things as they are in the coming year? What are the different costs emotionally and practically of you staying where you are in your life right now? Now, I want you to really consider these questions. Try it on yourself and see what comes up for you. See how this might inspire some positive action steps forward. Again, if you continue down the path you're on right now and don't make any changes, what's that going to look like a year from now? What goals would you have set aside to take no action in the year if you chose to take no action? What costs will that have on you emotionally and practically by staying where you are? What opportunities for personal or professional growth might you miss out on if you continue with the status quo? So, what steps can you make within this next year to make sure your life doesn't stay the same? This has like what I think of as the slingshot effect on us, because we pull back, like the slingshot, we pull back more and more and more, and we feel that tension of where we are in our life versus where we want to be. And then with all of that momentum and power and resistance from pulling back the slingshot, when we finally let it go, it propels us forward. It's uncomfortable to go there with your clients, but it is so powerful to help them break through stagnation or any kinds of toleration in your life. Now, again, this is dark. That's the point. That's why it's called dark coaching. These are the places that you don't want to go in your brain. But when you go there and when you have a coach guide you there, it can allow you to have the strength to make bold changes in your life and get to the point where you tell yourself, you know what, it's time to make some changes. I refuse to let my life get to that point, and it's time to take action right now. So this stagnation breakthrough gets you out of that toleration energy, which many people just use to coast through their life with, where they just stay comfortable, but they're so deeply unfulfilled, and instead allows them to move forward. I also like to remind myself and my clients that all of the energy in your life that you spend on tolerating things that are just good enough, all of that energy can be put towards creating a remarkable, magnificent life. All the energy spent on tolerating could be spent creating the magnificent. So these are some examples. There are more, and we go much deeper into this in Thriving Coach Academy. So if you are loving this so far and you want to learn how to go beyond the conventional coaching approaches and do deep powerful and sometimes dark coaching with your clients, then get on inside the academy and we'd love to teach you and show you how to properly apply this with your clients. This is what dark coaching is. Remember, coaching's not about just being in the positive all the time. Okay, it is about allowing your clients to fully experience the range of emotions and sometimes channeling the power of their negative thoughts and emotions to move their lives forward. All right, that's what I got in this episode. If you're loving the show, please leave us a 5-star review and take a moment and write a couple of sentences about what you're appreciating about this podcast. It means the world to us when you leave us reviews. Hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And before you go, here's a snippet from an interview I've done with one of our actual coaches who've gone through the academy. So you can hear a little bit of their story and their tips for you to become successful as a coach. So enjoy their story, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coaches' secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.